Okay, looks like we're live. Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we're continuing the Pokemon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time we managed to stop Team Aqua once and for all, and we had a failed attempt at trying to capture Kyogre, but we were able to get through that encounter without any fatalities. And we managed to earn our final gym badge of the Hoenn region. Yep, as you can see here on our trainer card, we have every last gym badge that can be earned during this journey. So we are pretty much all set to head to the Pokémon League. And in today's session, we're going to be clearing up the last of the things we can do in the Hoenn region before we set off to our final destination. So depending on how things go, this should be our second to last session of this. It's like, I've definitely been putting a lot of effort into these streams lately, and especially with what we have coming up, it's definitely been quite the process going through this adventure. And as much as I loved working on this project, I'm going to be really satisfied when it's finally done and I could relax and move on to some other things. This one has definitely been a lot to do. So today, we're going to be focusing on doing things with the move Waterfall, which we recently acquired after picking up the Waterfall HM in the Cave of Origins, and then managing to gain access to using this move on the field thanks to defeating Wallace. And for that, we had to make one notable change in our team. So Celeste, we've actually replaced Dive on Celeste in exchange for Waterfall. Mainly because we're going to be needing Waterfall throughout this next portion of the game. And also it's stronger than Dive, so we have that going for us. Besides, that's really not a move I really recommend focusing on putting on your team, because it's actually weaker than Surf, which we've had since forever. But yeah, around this part of the region, we're going to be needing our Acrobike in order to move around these railings over here. And of course, we got ourselves an encounter with a Kecleon that's blocking our path. Yeah, just another one of these little pests. Alright, Liam should easily be able to handle this thing. It is pretty weak compared to our team at the moment. Wow, actually didn't get the KO. It's fine. We have plenty of strength here. Alright, so you're going to be turned into a grass type, so I think we got quick attack. Yep, just finished you with that. Well, not quite. Still, nothing we gotta worry about with Kecleon. It is pretty weak. Yeah, this is certainly gonna be an interesting session. So we definitely have quite a few battles we're gonna be doing as we're approaching the end game here. And yeah, it's definitely gonna be something. We have a lot that we gotta prepare for, and it's gonna be some pretty interesting challenges as we approach the end game. Then, of course, we got a lot of training we're gonna have to do before we can face the Pokémon League. But over here, at the end of this railing path, we can pick up a rare candy, which I definitely appreciate, because we're going to be needing as many rare candies as we need in order to help us out in the end game. So the next destination I want to go to is Folibear Town, as this area has quite a few things that are now available to us, now that we have acquired the ability to go up waterfalls. And I'm wondering if I need to change my team for anything. At the moment, I don't really feel the need to. Just based on my memories of this area. Just want to show how our team is currently looking and how a lot of our reserves are doing. Yeah, we've gotten quite a formidable amount of Pokemon in our ranks. Yeah, I think we are pretty good with this setup at the moment. Though we may need to make some alterations going in a little bit. Just for what I'm expecting us to run into in the next major area. But for now, we're heading to Route 114, as we actually need to make it to Meteor Falls. An area we have seen a little bit back in our previous journeys around here, but there really wasn't much that we were able to do here besides grabbing a couple items on our first visit. However, now that we've acquired Waterfall... Oh, actually, there's something else we can get around here. If we can just make our way out of the grass here. Oh, hello, Lumbre. God, I still want to use the Lotad family in one of my stream series. Just haven't had an opportunity to do so. And depending on how things are going, yeah, I don't expect us to be using Lotad anytime soon. Just because I'm most likely going to be taking a major break from Pokemon on this channel for quite a while. You have one to head up here and grab that rare candy that you can access using Waterfall. Definitely worth it. These things are going to be very useful to us for some of the things we're going to be doing in the endgame. Hello there, Meryl. And you're decently leveled. Sure, we'll just take you out. Yep, as we're making our way to Meteor Falls, just want to mention that I am having an alright day so far. So I've definitely been working quite a bit the last couple of days. But I managed to get myself a day off here, and yeah, it felt like a good time to get back into streaming, especially considering what we have that we're going to be going up against soon. And my schedule really isn't lightening up too much, but we still have some days off coming in a bit. But yeah, I'll definitely find the time to do the preparations I need for what the final session is going to entail. Especially when it comes to preparing my team in the finale, because, oh boy, we got ourselves a lot we gotta do. But thankfully, I don't have to worry about training like a large number of Pokemon for this, since obviously we can only challenge the Pokémon League with a team of 6. So I'll just have to narrow down which Pokemon I'm going to be using for those couple of battles. So it should be interesting figuring out which team I'm going to be doing with. But yeah, want to show here, now that we have access to Waterfall, we can now access the higher levels of this cave. And there's quite a bit that we can see over here. Ooh, Golbat. Let's let Titania handle this one. She's actually pretty good against most of the Pokemon we can encounter in here, so we might switch Titania into the lead for a bit. I am so glad we managed to get Titania fully evolved in the last session, because Aggron is such a good Pokemon. Easily one of my favorite Generation 3 Pokemon. Just has a really cool design, how it's this massive dinosaur that's armored in these metal plates. Such a fantastic design. And it fits very well with its playstyle, having high defenses and also being quite powerful in battle. But yeah, there's quite a bit we can see in the upper levels of this area. And it would also be an interesting thing I wanted to discuss with regards to this area, especially in Nuzlocke runs, is that in some instances it might be preferable not to capture Pokemon the first time you enter an area, because there are some instances where you can encounter another Pokemon later on in the game after accomplishing certain things that would be very beneficial to you. So over there we can pick up TM23. I'm actually not too sure what that one is. 23 is Irontail. Alright, so we managed to get that for quite a while with Titania, and it's actually been serving us pretty well. So that's definitely a very strong attack you can give to your Pokemon, having 100 base power, but sadly only 75 accuracy, so it's definitely a very risky move. Very powerful, but also unreliable. It's definitely good as a coverage move if your Pokemon is really desperate for something to hit Rock and Ice-type Pokemon really hard. Yeah, sadly, this is the generation before Fairies were introduced, so Steel-type Pokemon tend to be more useful as tanks as opposed to as an offensive powerhouse. Luckily, we got to see a lot of power that Titania was able to bring during this run. She's just been so reliable ever since we caught her in, like, the second session, I want to say. God, it is just crazy to think how far in this journey we have come so far. Okay, this encounter. Let's go with Gladys and Celeste in our team here. So we got ourselves a unique duo here. We've always battled Pokemon together as a twosome. We've confidence in ourselves. We got ourselves a very unique pair here. Old couple John and Jay. We got ourselves a duo of veterans. Pack in Medicham and Hariyama, which are definitely two very hard-hitting Pokemon. Gonna have Gladys fly for the Medicham, and then Celeste will beat down the Hariyama. Feel like they'd be a good party to take this twosome out. They got some good, powerful attacks that can hit these fighting Pokemon very well. And I hate to say it, but this is probably going to be the last session we're going to be using Gladys. I mean, outside of her fly utility, which has always been excellent, but she's been pretty frail, and I don't really see too many battles coming up where she's going to be really good. So, yeah, depending on how things go, I am not expecting us to be using Gladys in the future. I mean, she's definitely pulled her weight a lot in this adventure, and has actually gotten some pretty intense close calls around different points of our adventure. Like, without her, we would not have gotten past the battle against our rival back on Route 110. And that was a very intense fight. So yeah, I am definitely pretty happy with what we were able to do with you. Alright, this guy. Considering our team, we should be fine. This is where we dragon users do our training. The champion even visits. Now, do you see how special it is here? So we got ourselves a dragon tamer. So these guys really aren't too bad, all things considered. We've got ourselves an Altaria to deal with. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure this one doesn't have Earthquake. That's mostly an outlier with Winona's Altaria, so we should be fine. But yeah, pretty interesting having the Dragon Tamers as characters in this game, considering that the Generation 2 games were the one that really started to establish dragon users as a pretty big deal, as they had an entire city dedicated to dragon Pokemon, and how the final gym leader you fight in that game is also a dragon user. But it's this game where they started to put more focus on regular trainers being able to use dragon Pokemon, especially around this point, where they started adding a lot more dragons. Back in the day, we only had the Dratini family and then Kingdra. But they definitely had a lot more dragon Pokemon in Generation 3, which I'm very thankful for. Especially with Ghost, because those were always two typings that were really elusive. And you had to really go out of your way in order to acquire Pokemon from those typings. So making them a lot more common was definitely something I appreciated about the older games. Of course, these days there are so many frickin' dragon and ghost type Pokemon to choose. Down here you got to be very careful when going down these slopes in order to get where you want to go. So over here in this portion of the cave, this should lead us to a very important area as we go into this cave. So this is the room I was alluding to if you want to come into this dungeon looking for an exclusive Pokemon. Over this patch of water, we can grab TM02, and I believe that is the TM for Dragon Claw. Yeah, this is just pretty good neutral damage that you're able to inflict on most Pokemon. So, Dragon is a bit interesting in that it is only super effective against other dragons. And you don't really encounter a whole lot of dragon Pokemon during the main story, so yeah, it's not really all that useful, all things considered. But it does have its uses, especially in the late game, because we're going to be seeing a lot more dragons going forward. But yeah, this room is definitely quite interesting. So I wanted to see if we could actually get something to appear, but it didn't happen, and we're not going to be spending too much time here anyway. But yeah, this room is important, as this room where you find the Dragon Claw TM is the only place in the game where you can find the Pokemon Bagon, which is a pure Dragon-type Pokemon that will eventually evolve into a Dragon Flying type. And it's easily one of the strongest Pokemon you can catch in this game. Would make an excellent addition to your team, though in a Nuzlocke run, it's quite interesting trying to encounter it, as yeah, it's definitely more of the elusive side, and you have to work your with having to evade both Golbat and Solrock or Lunatone, depending on which game you're playing. So that's also something to consider if you want to go after this Pokemon in a Nuzlocke challenge. But it's definitely a very viable one. It's a really good battler once you manage to train it up. And by the end game, it's definitely very useful against some of the fights you can expect to see in the Pokémon League. So it's definitely one that could be useful to you. It's just very tricky to actually get it as an encounter. But it could definitely be worth the effort, should you manage to get it. Then we have this door over here, which leads us to another elusive item. You get yourself a PP-Up, which is definitely going to be useful to me as we need to buff some of our attacks. Oh, hi, Lunatone. It's actually pretty nice that we got Lunatone as our encounter when we first came here. Never ended up using it on the team, but, you know, it's a pretty cool Pokemon. Especially as someone who used to exclusively play Emerald and Ruby as a kid, so I never got to actually use Lunatone until way later in other games. Alright, that's basically everything I want to show off in Meteor Falls. So let's just dig on out of here. Woo! Very good. Alright, so our next goal, yeah, we have already managed to explore everywhere we can see with Waterfall, besides the end game. So we're going to be heading over here to this island in the far east. So let's head to Pacific Log, and then we'll just do a little bit of surfing to get to our next destination. And is there any other teammate I want to bring along? I mean, we're definitely going to need to bring Zapricorn. They've been a very useful team member to us, and especially with where we're going next, they're going to be pretty handy. And of course, we got our ever-reliable Mickey with us as our dedicated HM user. Alright, also in terms of other captures that we're going to be doing around the end game, there are pretty much 2 Pokemon that we are able to capture at this point. And we're definitely going to be seeing those pretty soon. We'll just have Zappercorn in the lead. I'm not really expecting any big resistance over here. I've already cleared up most of the trainers we can find on the water. Just want to check and see about a certain thing. Yeah, I was not expecting Mirage Island to appear either. Just a very elusive thing that you're likely never to encounter in as many playthroughs of these games as you can go through. And on our way to our next destination, how about we equip our Super Rod, as that's going to be handy for catching something. So technically there is one other Pokemon that we would be able to catch, and that would be the 1% Wailord we can find on Route 129. But I'm not going to worry about that. It's just such an elusive Pokemon, and we already have a Wailmer, so there's really no reason for us to go after it, compared to what else we're going to be seeing in this area. So yep, as we're heading over to the east, what's something else that we could talk about? So, last couple of days, I've actually gone back into playing Pokemon Leaf Green as I want to get started on completing the post-game of that game, and managed to get through like all the post-game story stuff, while also working on Pokédex completion. And I've actually managed to capture all of the Pokemon that you're normally able to acquire in Leaf Green. So definitely need to be eventual jump into Fire Red so that we can capture the Fire Red exclusives to transfer over to that file. As I'm going to be dedicating Leaf Green into being my main Generation 3 game, at least until the release of Emerald, which should be coming eventually. No, it hasn't been announced yet, but we all know that the Hoenn games are definitely going to be coming to the Switch at some point. So I managed to capture all the normal Pokemon that you're able to obtain, and earlier today I managed to evolve the last Pokemon I needed to in order to get their final forms registered in the Pokédex. Specifically, I was training up a Pupitar in order to evolve it into Tyranitar, and I finally managed to get her evolved, so that's good. Another Pokemon registered in the Pokédex, and actually a pretty viable Pokemon that I want to use in the rest of the post-game, as it's just such a good Pokemon. Really love Tyranitar. And this morning, I was also able to acquire both Entei, which is definitely a pretty elusive Pokemon, as well as managed to capture Mewtwo. So, definitely made some good progress on getting the last legendaries that we need in this game. So I still need to get Lugia, Ho-Oh, and Deoxys, which are available in those games thanks to a thing that they did where they allowed it on the Switch release of those games, enabled you to essentially be able to have the event-exclusive items, allowing you to acquire those Pokemon in those games, which is very nice. But at the end of our road here and up that massive waterfall, welcome to Evergrande, quote, City, unquote. Yeah, I don't know why they call it Evergrande City, considering the fact that there's just a Pokemon Center here. And then we have the entrance to the cave. Like, what was their idea with this? Oh, boy. The Pokemon League's only a short distance after the Victory Road. If you come this far, what choice do you have but to keep going? The long and harrowing Victory Road It's like reliving the path one has traveled in life. Believe in your Pokemon and give it your very best. We shall. But before we do, Evergrande City here actually offers a new opportunity to catch a Pokemon. It's not one I'm planning to use on my team, but I would like to actually show off this Pokemon if we could actually get it to appear. Also a good opportunity to get some more levels on Zapricorn on some of the water types we can find here. Come on. Really having this bad of luck fishing something? I think if you have a Pokemon with suction cups in your party, that can increase the chance of reeling a Pokemon by fishing. I don't know if that's a thing in Generation 3, though. It might be added in one of the later games. But we're not going to worry too much about that. So yeah, we'll probably take a little bit of time to see if we can actually get this Pokemon to appear. I don't know, we could probably be fishing for like 10 minutes or something. So I would like to actually head into Victory Road pretty soon and start making some more story progress. But we'll see. Oh, hello there, Love Disc. Yeah, this is one of the few areas where you can run into Love Disc. So if you need to gather some heart scales, it's definitely a good opportunity to get some. You can catch these Pokemon or just use V for Covet to steal the scales from them. Either way is good. So yeah, I've definitely been having fun going through Leaf Green. It's definitely a blast revisiting these old Pokemon games I used to play when I was a kid. It's definitely very fun reliving those memories, and getting to really put my Pokemon playing skills to the test by revisiting these classics after all this time. And something else that I have been doing, obviously, is been playing some Pokemon Pokopia lately, and that's always been a blast. So definitely made some pretty nice progress through that game so far. And I really don't know what else to say. It's just a fun time. So I've been really enjoying what you're able to do in one of the areas where you just have a big open area that you can just freely build whatever you want. And I've been having a lot of fun designing like my town in that area and expanding it to some of the other sections of it has been very fun. Also visiting a lot of different islands so that I can gather resources in order to further expand my base has been pretty fun. And just also been leveling up a lot of the other areas. So of the areas in the main game I've explored, we've done the Withered Wasteland, the Bleak Beach, as well as the Rocky Ridge area, which are all very fun areas, and it's just crazy thinking the lore implications of these areas and how they're based on different cities that we've explored back in the older games. And it just, Pokopia being released so soon after they re-released Fire Red and Leaf Green, that really does just emphasize how much these areas have changed over time. Just, it's crazy. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that, and building my community with the various Pokemon I have been managing to recruit, as well as exploring the different areas and getting a lot of resources. Like, I definitely got a kick out of the minecart system that gets introduced in Rocky Ridge. That's just a very cool mechanic. It feels like building the minecart rails in Minecraft. So that's always a feature that was quite nice. Being able to build these rail systems to allow you to go to various different places very quickly, if you like. So yeah, I've definitely been enjoying those games. But there's been a part of me pretty recently that's wanted to engage in media outside of just playing video games, because I know I've been doing that an awful lot these days. So what I did pretty recently, earlier this week, is I went down to a bookstore and I actually picked up a copy of The Wind in the Willows, as it was always a story that I've heard about when I was younger, but never got a chance to actually read it myself. And I've definitely been enjoying my time with it. Just a nice little story about characters just enjoying these simpler things in life and getting to see new experiences and meet new people. It's been a lovely time reading that so far. But anyway, here is the new Pokemon that I was hyping up that we can find in this area. And who am I actually going to use to try and weaken this? I guess we could go with Celeste. Well, yeah, you're able to find Corsola here in Evergrande City. And I believe you could also find them on Route 128. But we got Luvdisca's encounter there. So yeah, this is definitely a... Ooh, actually almost killed that thing. Gotta be careful. Yeah, this really isn't a Pokemon I want to catch as a member of the team, as much as I want to just knock it off the encounter list and show that it is here. God, I still have my Master Ball. That thing sure as heck ain't getting used. So yeah, Corsola here, it's a defensive Pokemon. It's a Water Rock type, but it really isn't all that good compared to like other options. Corsola, the coral Pokemon. Clusters of Corsola congregate in warm seas where they serve as ideal hiding places for smaller Pokemon. When the water temperature falls, this Pokemon migrates to the southern seas. The thing I like most about Corsola is just the additions this thing gets in later in the series, where it gets like a predator in the form of Marini, which is this spiny sea star Pokemon from the Alola region that like feeds on Corsola's coral branches. And then in the Galar region, they introduced a regional variant of Corsola where it's a ghost type, where it's based on like dead bleached coral. And it actually gets an evolution in that game that is quite good. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of Corsola in the older games. So how about we call you... I'm thinking we'll call you Carol, as it is an anagram of coral. I felt like that would be pretty cute, as far as, like, naming Pokemon goes. Alright. So that is basically our penultimate Pokemon we managed to catch in this journey. And it's not even all that good. I mean, you're mild, so yeah, better special attack, but yeah, there's really not much else to this thing. It's a tank, but it doesn't even do that job very well. You can go into the water box with all the other water Pokemon I have. And now comes the part of deciding which Pokemon we're going to be bringing into Victory Road. So I feel like Titania is obviously going to be a good choice here. Just because you have such high defense, and your typing makes you very good against a lot of different Pokemon. So you'll be able to handle a lot of hits. Same goes for Blocky. Being ground type, you got some good coverage against some Pokemon we'll be seeing. It's like Liam and Celeste are obviously going to give us a lot of great coverage with their different moves. And I'm actually thinking we might swap out Blocky for someone else. Speaking of our different options here, there should be a few psychic types we could run into this area. And also, Shari just in general is pretty good at dealing with... Since you have Intimidate, this is a good area for you to just debuff enemies. And you know what? Since this is the second to last session, I feel like it'd be nice if we bring Shari in to the final area, since she's been one of our most reliable Pokemon we've had on this journey. And of course we gotta bring Mickey because we have to. We would also really love to bring in Carl, but with the way our team is currently laid out, I think we're gonna have to go with this squad for dealing with Victory Road. So, for this area, I highly recommend having certain HM moves with you. Specifically, you're going to need Surf, Strength, Rock Smash, Waterfall, and believe it or not, we're also going to need Flash. Yeah, they put so many frickin' HMs that you would need to use in order to have a good time through this area and just to complete it. God, it is so annoying. But I might as well give this to Zappercorn. I don't really see any reason to teach this to anyone else. Yeah, we'll get rid of Screech. Light Screen could still be useful against some of the things we're going to be seeing in here. But yeah, overall, I am quite confident in this squad being able to take on this area. Titania, you can hang in the back because you're a bit higher level compared to everyone else. So yeah, Mickey here is purely here for HM usage, and we got a pretty good squad of Pokemon that can handle a lot of different threats. Both Pokemon that can just hit really hard with a lot of different typings. We got Pokemon that are built for taking hits and debuffing opponents. We should be doing pretty well. I could also recommend stocking up on both healing items, which I have a good amount of, and also having a good stock of repels in this area. So I'm actually going to deposit some of these items we've been collecting. We're not going to need these for this area. And also, be nice to free up some space, because there are a few collectibles we can get in here that would be very nice. But yeah, it is time for the second to last main challenge of this adventure. We are heading into the final dungeon, Victory Road. Right off the bat, we get a really great song playing in this area. God, the Victory Road theme in this game is so freaking good. Just easily one of my favorites. It's so good that it even got remixed in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And that game already has an amazing soundtrack, so yeah, definite bonus points for that inclusion. But yeah, this area is going to be very long in. Ooh. So our final Pokemon we're getting on our adventure is going to be a Hariyama. Alright, since this is our final Pokemon we're going to be able to catch in this run, let's go ahead and use the Master Ball. We could run into a shiny Pokemon in here, because there are a few annoying Pokemon that could be tricky to catch. But whatever, let's just use this on Hariyama. This would actually be a pretty good Pokemon in the end game, considering a few of the different things we can run into. Hariyama, the arm thrust Pokemon. Hariyama's thick body may appear fat, but it's actually a hunk of solid muscle. This Pokemon bears down and tightens all its muscles. Its body becomes as hard as a rock. Obviously, you can tell this thing has many allusions to sumo wrestlers. And we are going to call you my favorite thing to call a Hariyama. We are going to call you Wonton. It just sounds like a pretty fun name for you. So now that we caught our last Pokemon of the run, time to pop our max repels. We are not going to be needing anything else down here. But yeah, Victory Road. This place has a lot we gotta see. And there's a ton of trainers we gotta deal with. I didn't come all this way to lose now. That possibility doesn't exist. So we are almost exclusively going to be running into ace trainers in this area, or cool trainers. It's a pretty fitting thing for this area. So this is our final challenge before taking on the Pokémon League. So, of course, that's going to reflect in the opponents we're going to be facing here. We got ourselves a lot of battles to go through, and I don't know if I'm going to go out of my way to fight every trainer. There definitely are some things I want to grab in this area, but I don't feel like it's necessary to try and grab every single collectible in this area, you know? Like, our main goal we need to do in this session is just make it through Victory Road. This session is going to end when we get to the Pokémon League. And then I'll be definitely spending a good amount of time preparing for what we're going to be doing next. Okay, Mach. Pretty much you got nothing you can do to Titania. She's completely immune to poison attacks. She cannot be poisoned. I feel like this is a good option here. But of course you have Minimize. That's going to be a bit of a pain. So yeah, while I was training up my Pupitar when I was playing Leaf Green earlier, I was having some trouble with a minimizing Chansey because that thing is so bulky and it was also increasing its evasiveness. So that was definitely very frustrating to have to deal with. But looks like we should be able to take you out. Muck is more of a special tank, so that's also a good idea to go with Titania here. Alright, Liam wants to learn Slam. That is a pretty strong physical attack. I mean, at this point, it's better than Quick Attack, so alright, we'll get rid of that. So yeah, we definitely also need to think about what moves we're going to give to our Pokemon as we're going through these areas, as we are going to be coming close to the end game here, and we have a lot of different options for customizing our team so that we'll be optimally prepared for the fights ahead. So yeah, I definitely have some ideas. We'll discuss those in a bit. Like, we could put Dragon Claw on either Liam or on Titania. I'm probably going to put it on Titania, though, considering that Dragon is a special type in this game, and they have a lot of special attack power. We can grab a Max Elixir over here. So that is the best power point replenishing item, being able to fully replenish the power points of a Pokemon's moves. Definitely good to have here. Oh, we got another challenger. This seemingly infinite and harsh road lives up to its name of victory. Yeah, all things considered, this is a pretty decent victory road, all things considered. I definitely have some stronger feelings to some other victory roads in the series. But this one ultimately isn't too bad. Don't wanna switch out against this thing, so let's have Shari bite you. Actually pretty funny in this point in the game that Shari is still using Bite. For whatever reason, it takes so long for Mighty N in this game to learn Crunch. And I definitely remember that when I was doing my Emerald Nuzlocke way back in the day. As it just made it so tricky for me to feel very motivated to using this Pokemon for the rest of the run. But yeah, kind of spoilers for how things turn out in my Emerald comic, but I did use a Mightyena in that game, and after the 7th gym, I ended up boxing him, as I felt like he wouldn't be that useful in some of the later portions of the game. And, you know, he survived the Tate and Liza battle in Emerald. I definitely feel like he earned his retirement, you know? Okay, good battle there for Shari. This definitely is going to be, like, her final farewell before the end here. I mean, she's definitely pulled her weight. I've enjoyed using this Pokemon throughout this run. She's been really good at debuffing opponents. Definitely do not underestimate Mightyena. It is a solid Pokemon for being able to deal with stronger enemies by just switching them in, debuffing them, and goes really well with my Gyarados too, since they both have the debuff options. Yeah, this is why you also want Rock Smash in this area, because they hide a ton of things behind these moves. Yeah, it's kind of annoying that we have to do all of these freaking HM moves in this game. But for the most part, we shouldn't have to worry too much about these. And of course, as my Repel wears off, we get another encounter. Luckily, the Pokemon around here are pretty high level, so it's going to make grinding our Pokemon in between sessions much easier. And yeah, the reason I'm mainly doing things with repels or avoiding wild battles here is we're going to be getting the bulk of our experience from the trainers around here, so I don't feel much reason to need to worry too much about the wilds. Especially, you know, we're going to be obviously using a lot of attacks and ooh, Claydol. This thing could be really nasty because these guys can learn Explosion. We managed to debuff this thing, so we should be good. Oh, that was a critical hit. Okay, it's just gonna buff its defense. We should be fine. Some of the trainers around here do have healing items, so you also gotta worry about that. But Shari should be... Oh, that's nasty. You're buffing your defenses. We should still be fine. This is a powerful Pokemon still, but we should be good. Okay, it didn't get the boost from Ancient Power. That's fine. We almost got you down. Oh, these things also get Hyper Beam. Luckily, that is a physical attack in this game, so it should be... Yep, that was hampered by the Intimidate. Woo, Shari, you are definitely earning your retirement here. Your relationship is based on solid trust. Yeah, I just like having Shari as a lead in this area, being able to instantly debuff any opponent we go up against. It's definitely a reliable use for our Pokemon. Definitely make use of your Pokemon's abilities when you're doing these challenges, because they can surprise you in a lot of ways. So around here, we can go up this ladder, getting back up to the first chamber, and we can grab another PP up. Very nice. We'll definitely need that to buff some of our attacks. Let's put our item finder again. It's telling us that there is something else around here. So at the end there, we can get an Ultra Ball. Okay. It's not really an item I need to worry about at this point, since we're all done with catches. So let's just head deeper. So in the lower area of Victory Road here, there's that path we're not going to take. So remember, the areas here can be a little tricky. Okay, that explains why my... So that explains why my repels aren't being useful in this area. Because some of the Pokemon here are just so high level at this point that our team isn't able to be able to avoid them. So yeah, repels only work on Pokemon that are lower level than your own. So in this instance, this Golbat is higher level than any of our other team members, so it was able to get through the repel. Whatever, it's going to give good experience for us regardless. We do need to remember that while we're going through this area, that there are going to be some Pokemon that can break through our defenses. Shouldn't get complacent just because you have a lot of gym badges. There's always going to be someone who's better than you. Considering what we've been up against so far, yeah, I'm definitely worried about that. This area can be pretty brutal. Alright, Sand Slash. This one isn't too bad. We get a debuff on you immediately with Shari. And let's switch over to Liam. We can just Giga Drain this thing and take you out with ease. Okay, that didn't do too much. So I was thinking of some other things that we could talk about pretty recently, and something came up pretty recently that I just find pretty interesting. So one of my friends who I actually talk with over on Discord, they actually had a baby pretty recently. So yeah, I'm just very happy for them for that. Yeah, just a pretty cool development for someone that I've been talking to for quite a number of years, and I do like them quite a bit. So very proud of them for getting a little addition to their family, and that they now have the responsibilities of parenthood to deal with. Ah, man. So I've definitely had a lot of thoughts myself about being a parent, and I feel like I would do a good job of it. You know, just a very stressful thing that people have to go through, and especially in this day and age, like, I have seen how expensive, like, diapers and formula can tend to go since I work at a grocery store, and yeah, that's definitely been very discouraging to me when it comes to a desire for being a parent. But, you know, some people just aren't cut out for it, you know? As much as I would potentially like to be a parent, yeah, not too sure about that at the moment. But, you know, despite the downsides, there's still a lot of good that can come of it if you put in the effort, you know? Got another item. I feel like it's over there past the water a little bit more. We'll deal with that in a little bit. However, there's some other things we should be able to grab. Yep. Up at the top of this part, we get another max repel. So that's very nice. Aw, man, I got another Pokemon breaking through our defensors. And it's always Golbat. Get out of here, you. Luckily, we have Celeste. They have a good variety of different attacks. Should be... Wow, that didn't get the KO. I mean, this thing is a couple levels above us. Even still, surviving a Starmie attack is definitely something. We got a ladder over there, and there's another trainer. I heard there was a tough little kid around. Do they mean you? Well, I don't mean to toot my own Trumbeak, but I've been pretty good so far with our challenges. Okay, against this Kecleon, I'm thinking we'll start with Waterfall, and then we'll go for Thunderbolt to maximize our damage. Oh yeah, that did about half damage. This is easily going to take you out. Ugh, we'll probably want to switch Celeste out, though, because that defense drop is no good. Also, when you're doing these battles here, definitely pay attention to these stat changes of your Pokemon. Because if you forget, that could easily spell disaster. Okay, this is a Rhyhorn. I'm not too worried about this. Waterfall. Luckily, this is still considered a special move in this game, so just easily take out a Rhyhorn. We could have gotten that as a potential Safari Zone encounter, which would have been nice. I like Rhyhorn quite a bit, and I actually use it on my main team in... Tentacruel. Celeste has a defense drop, and this thing does get poison moves. So let's swap over to Zappercorn. Alright, setting up its defense. We should be good. This thing could have been a pretty good team member, potentially for us. However, the Tentacool I ended up catching was not the best because it has a negative special attack nature. And these kind of runs, you definitely want to focus on using Pokemon that have good stats to them. Which is why I definitely picked a pretty interesting team of Pokemon in this run. I mean, Zappercorn has a mild nature, which is really good. Titania has a plus attack nature. our starter Pokemon Liam has a plus special attack nature. So yeah, there's definitely been some good opportunities for us to acquire Pokemon that would be useful to us in this run. Alright, at this point, let's switch Shari back into the lead. So now, we do have Mickey in our team. However, I am not planning on using Mickey in battles. He is here purely as a support Pokemon. I don't see any other reason to bring him out in a fight. Besides, he is not a very good battler at all. I mean, I'm sorry for saying that, buddy, but it's true. You must be getting a little tired. Yeah, there's so many trainers just waiting to ambush you down here. Carolyn, you've got a Mawile. Alright, definitely one of the more elusive Pokemon in this game. Alright, so you're going to ignore the Intimidate. Not that I really need to worry too much about this. If only I had a ground type with me. Or any ground moves in general. Like, Titania could have gone to Earthquake. We might actually teach her that sometime later. Let's go to Zapricorn to deal with you. So, while definitely an interesting Pokemon in this game, I mean, it's not really all that great. You have to wait until Generation 6 for this thing to really get good, when it gets Fairy typing, when it gets a Mega Evolution. I actually did use a Mawile back when I did an Omega Ruby playthrough, I want to say. Yeah, it was definitely Omega Ruby, because that's where that Pokemon is. And also got Sableye here. Not too worried about you. But yeah, Mawile is so good in Omega Ruby if you're able to actually catch it. Just such a powerhouse once you gain access to Mega Evolution. I don't like that confusion you're putting me through, buddy. This is why we have our flutes, so we can break through these statuses. It's so many full restores on these guys. Like, I know we're in the end game, but still. These trainers are definitely prepared for war. We're not the only people trying to get to the Pokémon League. Ow! Knockoff's always such an interesting move. Definitely more viable in competitive play, where using items can definitely be a good part of someone's strategies. But in single player, it's really not that useful. Luckily, we recover our items after battles, so we don't have to worry about losing our magnet that we fought so hard to get from the Trickmaster. This area is also pretty interesting in Emerald, as there are a lot more trainers around here, and a lot more opportunities for double battles, which will always be something interesting to do. We can find an elixir over here, but the bag is full. God. Frickin' Generation. No, it's just Ruby and Sapphire that really has the worst of it when it comes to these. Yeah, sure, we'll give Giga Drain another power point. Just look at our options here. There you go. We'll go pick up an elixir. This would actually be a pretty good area to start using your PowerPoint replenishing items, should your Pokemon start to run low. But overall, I don't think it's too much of a necessity. I train together with my whole family, every one of us. I'm not losing to anyone. So this NPC is very interesting to the lore of this game. He said that he was training with his family, and his name starts with the letter V. This trainer is highly implied to be the final member of the Wind Straight family that we encounter back on Route 111. So yeah, just a pretty interesting development here, actually getting to see this character we heard so much about, and how much their family respects him. So we managed to make it all the way to Victory Road. So, yeah, he was definitely quite formidable in order to make it this far. However, he's just another speed bump on our way to the champion. So let's just take care of his team once and for all. Also, I don't know if it's intentional, but I like the fact that he uses 4 Pokemon in his team. They could kind of like represent the 4 other family members he has. Respectively, his father, his mother, his little sister, and his grandmother. I don't know, I feel like that's a pretty nice touch. Hey, how dare you steal my Intimidate? Get out of here, Kadabra. I'm still thinking back to when I used Kadabra back in my Emerald Nuzlocke. Pretty good times. He ended up being the first death of that playthrough. Spoilers for my comic. But, yeah, that was definitely pretty fun times. Alright, I do not appreciate you hitting me, buddy. So Liam is going to take his HP back. Ow. Okay, we'll just finish you with a Leaf Blade. Not too worried about this main neck trick. Doesn't really got anything that can handle Liam. And your final Pokemon is Shiftry. Who do we have? Not a whole lot of Pokemon to handle Shiftry, actually. We should be fine. Liam, slam it. Oh, come on. Alright, this thing is gonna be tricky. You are a Grass Dark type. And... okay, I'm not too worried about what this thing can do, because I don't think it's got too many attacks that could actually hurt Liam. Or most of my Pokemon, really. Yeah, you're buffing your defenses. I'm thinking we'll probably want to switch. You actually don't get a whole lot of dark attacks in this game, from what I remember. I feel like we could switch Celeste in. So yeah, I don't think it gets a lot of dark attacks. This is obviously going to be very risky, but we should be good. Alright, let's go for Ice Beam. This will just cut through all of its defense boosts, and it should take you out. Yep, there we go. That takes care of that terrifying Tengu. And that's it for Vito. Better than my family? Is that possible? Looks like you need to train more, buddy. I was better than everyone in my family. I've never lost before. I've lost my confidence. Maybe I'll go home. Don't worry, man. I'm sure your family will still respect you even after this defeat. After all, families gotta be there to support each other, you know? And if you don't have a family that cares about you, then, you know, maybe best to cut them out. I am not speaking from experience. Don't worry, my family is pretty good, all things considered. Alright, so we got that ladder over there. So I believe that actually leads... yeah, this should take us to our next destination. We only actually got a little bit of this place left to go. So back over this way. Just want to head for this path here. Got some more rocks to break and to shove. But we shouldn't have to worry too much here. There's still a certain attack that I do want to try and get that we can find here. Yeah, spoilers, but there is a pretty good TM for us to get in this area. And we are actually back up at the top, so I'm thinking we might have actually missed it. Now, you know, we could pop back in here a little bit later to try and get it. Oh boy, we got this guy to deal with. So I'm not sure what his team is going to be, but we're leading with an Intimidator. We should be fine. I made it this far a couple times, but the last stretch is so long. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Got ourselves cool trainer Edgar. Who better not fall in any holes, sir. He's got a cacturn. We figured this thing a few times. Shouldn't be too much to worry about. Considering what we got as our options here. Ah, man, we don't actually have a lot of good Pokemon for dealing with grass types at the moment. Let's go for a takedown to see what we're able to do here. Okay, it's actually pretty good. So, what I'm probably going to do is set up a few howls, and then we'll just knock this thing out with takedown. Alright, it's going to be absorbing some extra health from its ingrain. But if we just use Howl and strike it again, we should be able to take you out. Here comes the Needle Arm. Yikes. That thing is doing a lot of damage to us. Very not good, especially given what we are currently trying to do. So how about we... considering your health, we'll give you a Soda Pop. Just want to try and finish this thing off in one hit. It's gonna be tricky to do with this thing's damage it's doing. Alright, let's do one more Howl. Ow, will you stop it? I am almost tempted to use Sand Attack on this thing, just so we could get this thing to miss. Oh no, it's doing too much damage to us to really... what are we gonna do here? It's just gonna be absorbing health at the end of every turn. That Needle Arm's going to do neutral damage to Titania, and it's also... yeah, that's also a special move, so her defenses aren't really going to help. I feel like our best bet right now is just to buff Shari's attack and try and take this thing out in one hit. I'm actually going to use a Sand Attack on this thing to make it more likely to miss. If worse comes to worse, we could always switch in to someone else. Okay, it's going for spikes. So that is quite nasty. We're going to Sand Attack again. Okay, it's starting to miss. This is good. This is good. Alright, I'm gonna do a few more howls, and then we should be able to finish you off. So basically, what I'm just waiting to do is for this thing to get itself back up to full health after I'm done spamming my howls. And then we should be able to finish you off. Okay, at this point, we should be good. We've risen our attack quite a bit. Let's go for takedown. Bam! Come on! Yeah, we took you out! Good work, Shari! Really pulling through, girl! And that takes care of Edgar. My dream ends here again. So if you're playing Emerald, around this part, there would be a double battle where you would have to deal with a Slacking as well as a Gardevoir that's able to use Skill Swap in order to exchange its ability with the Slacking, allowing the Slacking to just attack without having to worry about Truant. That thing is nasty to deal with, so yeah, you better hope to take it out quickly. But after all that, we are just about done.
Hi, Hayden. I bet you're surprised to see me here. I made it all the way here, and it's all thanks to you. Hayden, losing to you that time made me stronger. But I'm not going to lose anymore. I'm gonna win for the Pokemon who gave me courage and strength. Okay, here I come!
Quite a surprise to see this kid here after all this time. Wally is our final opponent before taking on the Pokémon League, leading with Altaria. So this kid actually has a pretty decent team, all things considered. But man, if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they make this confrontation with Wally so much more climactic. It is such a cool set piece to see in that section of Victory Road. We are fighting him in this chamber full of flowers, and you actually get to face one of his Pokemon that's Mega Evolved. God, it's so good. He's also got a Delcatty, but this thing honestly isn't that bad. Oh, wow. So, Delcatty's able to have a move called Assist, which allows it to use an attack from one of its allies. And it was able to Dragon Dance from Altaria. Quite the interesting little buff it gets there. However, we were able to take that thing out after just a few waterfalls. Very good. Next up, Roselia. So this thing would be a pain, but you're also part poison. Celeste, take it out with Psychic. There we go. And a critical hit, too. And next up is Magneton. Okay, this one we are going to need to switch out. Oh god, we do not have any Pokemon that can really deal with this thing quite well. Yeah, we don't have any ground-type attacks. You know what? We'll switch to Liam. I'm actually not too worried about Magneton at this point. Liam should be able to handle anything that this Pokemon can do to us. Since the bulk of its attacks are going to be electric, which Liam naturally resists, we just strike this thing, hitting its weaker special defense, and we should be good. Okay, I don't like that confusion. We're just going to Yellow Flute to get rid of that. But yeah, this confrontation with Wally, like I said before, in the original games, it's not really all that great. But, oh man, the remakes really do put a lot more emphasis on Wally in the story. I really love what they do with the kid. Just making him a lot more involved and giving him some more appearances throughout the story. And having this climactic confrontation with him at the end of Victory Road, it feels earned in the remakes. And it's such a very cool battle conceptually. Alright, as long as we just keep draining this thing, we should be able to shrug off any damage it deals to us. And also just waste all of Wally's items. Ha! You missed! Now to finish you! Just drain those battery acid from it. God, it's kind of weird just thinking about draining energy from a mechanical Pokemon. Just a weird idea. And for Wally's final Pokemon, Gardevoir. One of the strongest special attackers in the game. And if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Wally would instead be using a Gallade, which is the male-exclusive evolution of the Ralts family. And that thing is also able to Mega Evolve, making it incredibly dangerous. So I want to have Shari out against this Gardevoir, because I'm pretty sure the only way it can damage us is with Psychic-type attacks. So there is nothing this thing can do to Shari. Just got to fight through the illusions it's conjuring. Gotta get through its dastardly tricks, and we should be able to finish you off. Come on. Alright, but setting up with Calm Mind, which is actually not that good for us, because that's just going to weaken Shari's bite. Or we could get a critical hit and just completely ignore the stat buff. Woo! Go Shari! What a way to end your journey, girl. Wow, Hayden, you are strong after all. I couldn't beat you today, Hayden, but one of these days, I'll catch up to you. So yeah, this is basically where Wally's story ends in this game. But a pretty fitting conclusion to his character, if I do say so. And after making it all the way here, we have finally reached the Pokémon League. This is the final trial of the game. Once you deal with the threats here, well, after dealing with Victory Road, all that's left is to go forward and take on the Pokémon League. However, we are not yet prepared to take on the final challenge of the game. Like, our team is strong, but we're not that strong. Trust me on this. Okay. Well, we got a chance just to heal up. Let's deposit some things we're not going to need. Just drop away our elixirs. Because I do want to head back into Victory Road to see if we can get that item we missed. We are going to have to backtrack quite a ways. You know what, let's give some of our other Pokemon a chance to shine now that we fought our way through Victory Road. So now we are going to need to bring Mickey as well as Zappercorn with us. And also Celeste because they have... since they have Waterfall. So how about we bring in Filet? And let's also bring in Blocky. And let's round things out with Echo. I feel like they would be nice to bring in as well. So we'll definitely need to think about what we're going to do for our final team. So we're Wonton. So you are quiet. That's a plus special attack nature. Not the best for you, even though you can learn a few special moves. But yeah, definitely not the best, but it's certainly not bad, all things considered. Alright. So we're going to be heading back into Victory Road because there is an item we missed here that I do want to grab if we want to truly call this a finished run of this game. Which, you know, considering what we still have available to us and some of the other big fights ahead, we'll worry about that later. Alright, Zappercorn. Need you to illuminate the darkness for us. And we'll just have to push forward. Alright, so I'm not entirely sure where we need to go in order to get one of the items that we're missing. I think if we just head down here, this should bring us over this way to an area we haven't been. This isn't the goal. It's only a place on the way to the Pokémon League. Yeah, well said, Missy. I mean, we're leading with an Intimidator, so whatever you have, shouldn't be too bad. Really? Nose pass? This late into the game? Another thing I want to mention with regards to the version differences. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, a neat thing they do is that game has it so that after the confrontation with Groudon and Kyogre, you'll start to encounter Pokemon that are not native to the Hoenn region, and get a chance to see a lot of Pokemon from places like Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos in a few different spots, and that also reflects on the trainers that you'll fight here. Well, you'll start to see a lot of different Pokemon. Like, I know for a fact that there's someone here with a Dark Manitan, which is a pretty cool encounter, because that thing is really damn strong. Yeah, besides that, yeah, there are just a few interesting changes between the different versions. Like I said before, Emerald adds a lot more trainers in this area, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire completely changes what you can expect to see from the various trainers. Ludicolo. This guy is pretty interesting. It's the final form of the Lotat family, and you know I love its whole aesthetic it's got going on, like a Mexican entertainer. Not too worried about this thing. It's got great stats overall, but Filet should easily be able to handle this thing. Very good.
That's the way.
Let's deal with another trainer over here. And it's back over in this section of Victory Row. So, right, there was where we ended up after waterfalling to this spot. Alright, so I have an idea where we need to go to get what I'm thinking of. Let's head over this way.
Hello, Sableye.
Also able to run into these guys down here. And I'm not too worried about encounters with wild Pokemon down here at this point, since we already made it through with some of the Pokemon that I want to end this game with. I mean, if we could get through the remainder of this adventure without a fatality, would be very nice. And while we're just exploring the rest of this place and trying to backtrack to where this one item we want to look for is... Oh, hello there, Medicham. There's another version difference that's pretty interesting, as you can find wild Medicham here only in Ruby and Sapphire. They are completely absent in Emerald, which, you know, I still think is a very weird change to have the Meta-type family just not in these games. Yeah, it's not too bad, all things considered. Just a little weird, you know? Okay, I think I want to head down here. And... Alright, so where I want to go next is... somewhere... Oh, did we seriously not fight you? If I'm getting closer to the Pokémon League, I'm getting stage fright. Okay, it's pretty interesting. We missed this guy entirely. Gold Trainer Samuel. Ooh, he's got a Dodrio. So that thing can be quite nasty. It is very fast and very strong physically. Like, normally I would take this opportunity to switch over to Zapricorn, but I really do not want to take a stab attack from this thing, because that could be really nasty. Yeah, this thing gets Tri-Attack, and that's obviously really strong. But thankfully, Filet, you have Intimidate, so this thing shouldn't be hitting as hard as it normally would. Let's just ice this turkey and get on out of here. Alright, get up to 43. Very good. And you got a Lairon. Honestly, not too bad. This thing isn't fully evolved, so we shouldn't expect too rough of a time with you. Bam. And next Pokemon you got is Kadabra. Yeah, I'm not too worried. Let's just hit you with Strength. That should finish you off. Bam! And this is why I love Gyarados. I couldn't do a thing! Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep you in the lead for now. Sure, you can have a soda pop. Could've gone with a lemonade, but that's fine too. Okay, this is the path beyond that boulder that we didn't break before. So I'm thinking we'll want to double back over the bridge to get where we need to. Step over here, we got ourselves another boulder puzzle that we missed. So we just push these rocks, we should be good. So move those over, we can pick up a full restore. Huh. That's actually not the item I was expecting to get over here. So I know that there is another item we can find somewhere in Victory Road. It's one that is quite good. So we head over this way. Yeah, this takes us back over. Okay, where exactly am I thinking in order to get to this one item? As I know it should be in this dungeon. I have played so much of the Generation Free games, I know it should be somewhere around here. Alright, this takes us over this way. I'm thinking we have to access it from one of the lower pathways here. Why don't we try checking... Now, so we go up here, this is where Vito is. I know we've already dealt with you. There's nothing else we can get on that path. So over there is where we got the path to the exit. It's been a while since I have actually been in this version of Victory Road, so I'm feeling a little discombobulated. I'm pretty sure we should be able to get it in this version. I don't see why... Oh, it's over here, I think. So, yep, if we get to these rocks over here, which I completely missed for some reason, we get TM29. This you definitely want to grab, because this TM is Psychic. I've already said this before, but Psychic is such a great move. A lot of Pokemon can learn it, not just Psychic types, and it is a hell of a lot useful to you. Definitely try to teach that to some of your Pokemon, because it can be really handy. Though, like I said before, Psychic really isn't too much of a priority in this region, since there don't tend to be a lot of Fighting-type Pokemon outside of the gym in Dewford Town. But now we've taken care of that, that's pretty much everything I wanted to do in Victory Road. Ooh, man. That was definitely a pretty good run of that area, wouldn't just say. So, at this point, the only thing left for us to do is decide on which Pokemon are going to be going with us into the final challenge. So I definitely got quite a few Pokemon in mind that we can use here. And we're definitely going to be pulling mostly from the Pokemon we've been using throughout this journey. We have a lot of reserves that could be helpful in a few situations. However, I feel like focusing on the main Pokemon we've been using all throughout this game is going to be a good thing for us to do. Just to highlight a lot of the strong Pokemon that were able to get us to this point, you know? So yeah, I'm going to take some time to decide which 6 Pokemon are going with us into the Hall of Fame. So I definitely have a lot of work ahead of me to train them up. So thank you for joining me in this part of our Pokemon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Hard to believe we've already reached the end. But next time, we'll be taking on the Pokémon League and ending this challenge once and for all. Until next time, have a good day and take care.